Okay, we're live. We're live. We are live. Um, okay. So, how's everybody doing? I'm doing great. Today, was back at the courthouse for the Diddy trial. Today's day 19. And let me tell you something, okay? Let me tell you something. Today was crazy. Today was crazy. My friend Monique came with me. We had a lot of fun. It was her first time coming to go into the courthouse, so she had a nice time. She had a really, really good time. And it's always really fascinating to see the legal process play out in real time. So that being said, today was day 19, and hi, what's up? What's going on? Today was day 19, and yeah, like I said, it was real crazy. Jane is still on the stand under direct examination, and her testimony today was nothing short, but it was just so heavy. Like this whole this whole court case, this whole entire case is just heavy as hell. And you got to be kind of like in a specific headspace to kind of get through a lot of the testimony and stuff like that. She A lot of people already know who she is. I'm not gonna say who she is. I'm pretty sure you guys already know. Don't say it in the comments, please, okay? Because people are getting into trouble, because there are, people who are saying her name or whatever, but most people know who she is. I just wanted to say this really quickly. I think that they did a really, really terrible job with this situation as far as aloha, as far as keeping this person anonymous. Okay. I don't know how else they could have handled it, but the way it's going is terrible. Her With this particular witness Jane and the other one Mia, it's just like almost immediately everybody knew who these people were. Okay. Later on there, in my notes I'm going to kind of discuss what the attorneys said regarding certain content creators, uh, basically putting these people on blast and doxing these people who are supposed to remain anonymous. They're not playing around with it. They're not, and it's becoming a huge issue. Okay. So anyway, today, Jane, she takes the stand, and she's wearing a beautiful, sort of a light burgundy colored pantsuit. Diddy is wearing a dark blue sweater with like a light colored shirt underneath. Of course, he still has that, gray hair. To me, he looks great. He looks great to me. He looks sober and clean and fresh, and he doesn't look crazy. Like, he looks good to me. I think a lot of people are hung up on the fact that he has gray hair or whatever, but he's clean. He doesn't look unhealthy. He looks clean. So the gray hair is not a big deal. He's in his late 50s now, so I don't know what people were expecting his hair to look like at that age. Okay, but he looks good to me. All right. So now I got there maybe a few minutes late. From what I understand, in the very beginning, Jane was questioned about her traveling to Vegas, and she did mention that she traveled to Vegas on Sean's private, jet, his plane. And they also talked about her, uh, you know, doing a. We're gonna call these hotel nights for Jane, because this is what she referred to these things as. Cassie referred to those her experiences with him as freak offs, but Jane is referring to these as hotel nights. So we're gonna call them hotel nights for her, okay? And so she went to Vegas on the plane, and he was hosting an event, and he wanted entertainment. So I'm also going to refer to the hotel nights as entertainment as well, because this is what, how did he refer to it with her. From what I understand, they did discuss whether or not he wanted the escorts to wear, protection, and she did, but he did not. That was one of the things that he really did not like. All right. Now, when I got there, they were discussing her being involved in one of these events, one of these hotel night events, and her trying to speed things up. And this was something that she would try to kind of do because remember, for the most part, I noticed a similar narrative with her and also Cassie. Cassie wanted to get this over with so they can be together alone because typically after the freak off or the hotel night, the escort would, be told, okay, your services are no longer needed this evening. Thanks for coming. And, what would happen is uh, they would have alone time with each other. And this is what she really, really wanted. So she would try to sometimes speed things up a little bit so they could get the thing over with so they can go into the room alone and have that alone time with each other. All right. And the lawyer asked her, how did you feel when he would try to prevent you from speeding things up? And then there was an objection. There was a sidebar. So after the sidebar, um, she said that the time afterwards, after the hotel night, um, she would feel horrible. She would feel gross and disgusting. But she was happy to be with Sean, and she would try to kind of like block everything out. Um, and they talked about after one of these hotel nights, where would you go afterwards? And she said that she would go to his residence. Now, one thing that I did notice about Jane's testimony is she definitely was extremely emotional throughout a lot of her testimony. She definitely broke down and cried a lot. She definitely broke down and cried a lot. And some of the parts of her testimony were very, very sad. Um, I'll go into that a little bit later. So let's just proceed. So they asked her, what would you do with Sean after, a night of the hotel night? And she said that she would make sure that he was clean. She would bathe him, like literally do these things, bathe him, I guess wash with him in the shower and everything. Put on his favorite show and, sometimes, give him like a little massage and stuff like that and then cuddle and sleep with him. Okay, this is what she did. Um, and the lawyer asked, between May 2021 to October of 2023, were there any times that you enjoyed being with Sean after being with entertainers? And she said that yes, she did enjoy being with him. And there were times that after they left each other, she would text him to let him know that she loved him. And they asked her, how often would you text? And she said often. And she also went into her, sometimes sending him explicit 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 messages, explicit text messages and things like that, because she knew that this was something that he liked. Okay. They repeatedly asked over and over again, did you enjoy being with other people? And she said no. And they repeatedly asked her throughout the course of her testimony, who did you want to be with? And she would always say only Sean. Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay, so they asked her, did you ever say that you wanted to have relations with anyone else? And she said yes, often. And they asked her why, and she said to fulfill his fantasies. And she went into the fact that Sean would want, he would tell her to be explicit with the text messages that she sent him. Okay. I think that a lot of this is the prosecutor or the prosecution trying to sort of like get ahead of what's inevitably going to come up during cross. Because if you remember, during cross-examination of Cassie, they went into a lot of the text messages that Cassie sent, right? Because remember, Cassie sent messages. You heard about the messages that Cassie sent, okay? So it was very much giving that she was just a super willing participant, and she liked all of this and everything. So I think that the prosecution is getting this out of the way, which is something I think that they should have done with Cassie. I don't know why they didn't do that with Cassie, but okay. Um, and so they went into some of the explicit text messages that she sent him. And one of the text messages that she sent was on, HORNY for you. All right. And Sean responds and says, well, what do you want to do? And he says, be explicit. Make sure that you're very explicit with what you want to do with me. And I wrote a little note to myself and I said, this sounds exhausting. Like, none of this sounds like it's a natural thing. Like, when you're with your boyfriend or your girlfriend and you guys are attracted to each other or whatever, and you send like a cute little message to them, and it's something that you want to do. Like, who wants to feel like they have to do that? That just to me takes all the fun out of it, but whatever, child. So she said, I wanna SUCK pause, you know what, while you give me that strong stroke game. And they asked her, well, why did you text him this? Why would you say that? And she said, because she wanted to turn him on. This is another question that they repeatedly asked her. Did you ever tell him that you wanted to stop doing hotel nights? And she said yes. And they asked, did you ever tell him this in person? And the defense didn't give her a chance to answer the question. They objected to that, which I don't understand. Well, I guess maybe it would be hearsay, because unless there was someone else there to hear her say that she didn't want to do this in person, or there was some type of audio recording of her saying this to him in person, I guess it would be hearsay, or like, I don't know. So they said objection. And she said that around this time, after they had several of these hotel nights, this is when she started to really realize what they were, and she got really scared realizing that. So relatively early on, she understood like what time it was. For some reasons, she still continued to stay with him, and she stayed with him. All right. So she told him, I wish we could go back to when we first met. I feel like we opened Pandora's box and we can't close it. I don't want to do this anymore. I feel dark and sleazy. Okay. And she said to him that she feels like this is the only reason you have me around, and why you pay for the house. Now, mind you, he's paying for the house that she lives in. Okay. So now they kind of go back and forth with present day to, the past and stuff like that. All right. So the attorney said, well, what did you think would happen if you didn't do the hotel nights anymore? And she said she thought that he would start paying for her rent. They asked her, what was the longest hotel night? And she said it was New Year's of 2022. And it lasted 3.5 days. And she said, the attorney asked her, did you sleep? And she said, no, not till the end. And she said that the shortest night is about 12 hours. Okay. If you're on TikTok, please give me a follow. I really, really would appreciate it. I'm going to try to get to some of these questions a little bit here and there. Okay. I don't want to do too much, because before people were complaining that I was doing that too much and not talking about the testimony. How can it be so bad and he pays the rent? Did she say he dangled her over the balcony? So this is the thing, right? She didn't, this is not the one that he, allegedly dangled over the balcony. That was a different person. That was one of Cassie's friend, who was, the two of them used to get high and do a lot of, substances together and stuff like that. And there was an incident where he allegedly hung her over the balcony. Okay. There was a bit of a thing with that, because the date that she alleged that he hung her over the balcony, they had proof that he was somewhere else at the time. So, she more likely than not, in my opinion, made a mistake with the exact date, because there is text message from Cassie to Christina Quorum talking about what happened around the time it happened, like that night. So I think she just messed up on the exact day, But do I think it actually happened? Yeah, I do think it happened, because he did try to settle with her, like immediately. And according to testimony, this well, they didn't want, the defense did not want anybody to know how much the settlement was that he was offering, but apparently it was quite a lot of money. Okay, so that's the situation with that. Okay, she was lying. That was a big lie. Um, I don't know why you would say that, but okay. Um, yeah. So I just kind of explained exactly what happened there. So we're gonna move on. Okay. All right. So the short is, so they asked her, what was the longest hotel night, and she said, like 3.5 days. Did you sleep? Not till the end. And the shortest was typically about 12 hours long. All right. And they asked her, on average, how long did hotel nights last? And she said anywhere from 24 to 36 hours. And they asked, well, what would you take? So what would you take? And she said that they would take, I'm going to refer to some of this stuff because TikTok is real funny, and I don't want them to like mess up my thing there, because what happens is if you're too explicit, then they'll stop recommending the live to people from what I see. So I got to really be careful with what I say here. But she would take E, everybody knows what that is, caffeine, different types of caffeine, etc. And she also would, order protein shakes to drink as well. They asked her what type of drugs or substances rather did you see in the hotel rooms, and she said E, you know, uh, white powder, 2C, and also marijuana. Okay, and 2C, by now everybody knows that's that pink powder, child. Okay, and they asked her, did you ever try 2C? And she said yes, once, and she said she didn't like it. And they asked her, well, what type of substances did you use? And she said mostly E and Molly, and the other ones not so much. So those are the ones that she really, really liked a lot. And I think a big part of the reason why she used those is because with E, you can definitely, it definitely heightens your, sexual feeling and stuff like that. And you can definitely easily kind of disconnect from what you're doing. And I think this is what, she was looking for, some type of escapism while she, was enduring these hotel nights. And child, they asked her what type of substances did Sean use, and she said all of them, and that doesn't surprise me at all. And they asked her if the entertainers ever used substances, and she said no. And uh, that was one of the rules that she had. She didn't want the entertainers taking any type of substances because she didn't want them to be out of control. Okay. And by out of control, like she can't guarantee, she can't guarantee how these people are going to react, and she was afraid for them to be like on any type of substances and like be, doing that. Okay. All right. So, um, they asked her, did you ever try to do the hotel night sober? And she said yes, she did try it a couple of times, but it felt too real when she was sober. And she starts really, really crying at this time. Whenever she cried, they would always ask her, oh, there we go. It says live restricted. And I tried really hard, but anyway, I guess it's restricted to some audiences. Okay, so anyway, we're still here. Thank you for everybody who's still watching. If you're watching on TikTok, please follow me. All right, so she said that it felt too real. And one time she tried to do it sober, and she just really could not get into it. And she asked Sean to give her a little something, and he did give her a little something to sort of help her to get through it, and it was an E pill. Okay, so she tried again in October of 2023, and she wanted Sean to get sober. At this point, he was taking way too many, pills and substances, and he literally was doing this all day, every day. She said that, he said that he would go 30 days without anything, and what they would do is they would have a sobriety party, all right? And the sobriety party lasted about 12 to 14 hours, and the sobriety party was basically, uh, you know, a hotel night. And I'm going to tell you something right now. You're going to see throughout the course of this testimony that he absolutely, like, for lack of a better word, tricked her into a lot of these hotel nights. Okay, do I believe that every person involved with him was not somehow at least a little bit complicit with certain things. No, because I'm not stupid, okay? However, he absolutely would say certain things sometimes and make it seem like, hey, we don't have to do this anymore, and sort of finagle it so they would have these hotel nights, okay? So now the first time I'm seeing this is for the sobriety party, the quote unquote sobriety party, okay? So there was a typical routine. Then they had a second guy join them, okay? She went to the bathroom, she vomited, and Sean came in and said, "Well, that's really good that you vomited. Now you probably feel better, right?" So then she said, "Okay." He said, "Let's go back outside. The third guy is here." The third guy. They asked her, "How did you feel?" She said, "Disgusted and repulsed." "Did you ever have relations with the first two entertainers?" And she said yes. And then they asked her, "Did you have relations with the third entertainer after throwing up?" And she said yes. Okay. This is a quick side note. Throughout all of this testimony, one thing that's missing is the physical abuse. I noticed that he did not, there's no message of him putting his hands on her. And I think it was really, really interesting because when Cassie testified, he put his hands on her constantly, like all the time. Okay, I think we all, heard about that testimony. He was constantly physically abusing her. And I can't help but wonder if he didn't put his hands on her because of who she was. Okay, and again, we're not going to say who she was. We're not going to talk about it, although we understand that we most likely know who it is. But I believe there's a reason why he didn't do that. And I think that these women are lying. You got to know that. Come on, okay, ciao. All right. So I think that he didn't put his hands on her because of who, her child's father was. And I don't think he wanted that type of smoke. Okay. So we'll just leave that there. Move over, please. Okay. All right. So they had a break, 15-minute break. They're back from the break, and they take that inside. Are you kidding me? Take it inside right now. No, take it inside. Take it inside. Take it inside. I'm sorry about that. Did Sean ever run out of substances? And she said yes, various times. And they asked when the first time that he ran out, what happened? And she said he would call one of his assistants, security, and she mentioned people like Brendan. Does anybody remember who Brendan is? Brendan is the young white man, right? That was on the plane with him. Remember when they detained him and he was arrested? The substance mule. Okay, she mentioned him. And she also mentioned somebody by the name of Frank, another person by the name of John, and a few other people that I'm kind of not familiar with. This is getting more towards recent times, so a lot of the names that we heard before are like people that from before. So they show a photo of Brendan. Now, these exhibits, okay, these exhibits are not like the exhibits these exhibits are not like the exhibits that we were shown before. They didn't show these exhibits in court today. So they would describe, thank you so much, Vincent, for the stars. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. They didn't show the exhibits. They would just talk about various text messages and things like this, okay? Hi, Jamel. Hi, Sandra. Who are the entertainers? They mentioned the entertainers' names, but like the last time, they didn't show any of the entertainers' faces. The last time they showed the faces, and if you remember, the Punisher and all these people, everybody knows who these people were. They showed the government's exhibits and stuff like that on the blogs and all of that. This time they didn't show any of that. Okay. All right. So they showed her a photo of Brendan, and they said that Brendan would come to the hotel and bring substances, white powder and marijuana. Okay. And they asked her if security would come too, and she said yes. And she asked her, well, when would Sean call security? And she said towards the end of the relationship was when he started to call the security to bring these substances. Okay. There was somebody by the name of Fahim that was part of the security, somebody else by the name of J9 or something like that. And they showed a photo of Fahim, not to us, but to them, okay, in the court, or to her. And she said sometimes Sean referred to him as Fa. After Sean called Fahim, what would happen? Fahim or J9 would come, and what types of substances would they bring? The same thing: ecstasy, or E rather, Molly and cocaine. Okay. Okay. Um. All right. So who else would Sean call? Um. And during the hotel nights, and she said somebody by the name of Guido. All right. And one night, Sean ran out of substances, and he called Guido, and Guido showed up bringing the substances. And this happened a few times. He would bring the same stuff: E, Molly, and I guess Guido was the plug for the Xanax and the white powder. All right. Did you ever take Xanax after a hotel night? And she said yes, because she wanted to fall asleep. And um, she would also take it after putting Sean to sleep, because remember I said in the beginning of this live that after these hotel nights she would bathe him and basically take care of him, massage him, and get him ready and put him to sleep and stuff like that. Then she would get herself ready and then clean up or whatever, and then she would cuddle with him and stuff like that. Child, this to me is the part where there are several parts of this testimony today, and other parts of testimony where it's clear that racketeering, is involved, or RICO rather is involved. All right. Um, to me, this is one of the parts. Okay, and they asked her, "Did you ever carry substances?" And she said yes. And they said where, and she said from LA to Miami. Okay. She would pick up the substances from where Diddy lived in Miami. I'm sorry, in one of his residences in LA, and bring it to the airport, check it in, and then take it on the plane over to Miami. And she talked about Christina Coram was one of the people who she had to. Thank you, Emma, so much for the stars. Thank you, thank you. Um, she said that Christina Coram spoke to her and said, "Hey, just come. I'll have security give it to you." So she went, and Christina Coram facilitated, the pickup of the substances and everything like that. Security would give it to her. She got on the plane and brought it over to Miami. And they asked her if, she asked KK, like, "Is this safe to do?" And KK apparently was like, "Yes, it's fine. I do it all the time." She was concerned about putting the package in her luggage, but she checked it in anyway at the airport and went and brought the package to Sean Child. And the package had E, and they took it for one of their hotel nights. Okay, and she did this again, the same thing. Spoke with KK. She said she'll have security bring it out. That's exactly what happened. And went to the airport again, checked it in, and went over to go see him in Miami. She was muling. Yes, she did. She absolutely did. She took the substances all the way from uh, LA, and brought it all the way to Miami for them to use for the hotel night, child. Um, all right, so eventually she herself started scheduling entertainers. So remember, in the beginning, you know, Sean, Diddy was the one who was sort of scheduling these people, right? Because he had to kind of like ease her into this. So he was the one who was scheduling these entertainers, but eventually she started doing it. Her reasoning for doing this is because she didn't like the idea of strangers, so she decided it would be better for her to choose who it was. She didn't like him just randomly, picking somebody, and then it would just be some strange person she didn't know showing up to do these hotel nights. She said she didn't want to do it, but at least she got to pick, child. Okay. So they showed a photo of somebody by the name of Cabral, and she would refer to him as Chef. The reason why she referred to him as Chef is through, they had conversation with each other, and she found out that he had a passion for cooking just like me. what's another nickname for Chef? And she said his nickname was Sly because his stage name was Sly. Um, was okay. So whose idea was it? She said that she was with Sean having relations, and she was taking E when she came up with the idea of contacting him. Okay, now he was somebody who worked in the entertainment industry, and they were watching his movie. They were watching a movie of his, right? And apparently Sly was, well endowed, and we know how Diddy, feels about that. Okay. And he, was very encouraging and was like, yeah, why don't you contact him? So she went on Instagram and contacted him. He responded. And, she basically said, would you like to link up one day? And he said, yeah, sure. I mean, this woman is gorgeous. She's very, very pretty. Again, I'm not going to say who she is, and don't say who it is in the comments, okay? But she is really, 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 really very, very attractive. So if somebody like that messages you and says, hey, would you like to link up? 9 times out of 10, the person is going to absolutely say yes, okay? So, um, he was very, very excited. They, spoke with each other and everything like that. And uh, she had a FaceTime video with him, okay? He didn't know that Diddy was present for this, but Diddy was present. And I'm going to preface everything else by saying anytime she did anything with any of these men, he was either always present or in another room watching on a different screen. The people who she was FaceTiming with might have thought that it was just the two of them, but it was never just the two of them. All the time, he was either right next to her or in another room watching on another screen. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so during the FaceTime, they talked a lot about, having relations and stuff like that, and it got real, real hot and heavy, and they started showing their, private areas to each other and started, having like a, sexy time FaceTime, right? And again, Sean was present, but they didn't know it, okay? So eventually they met in person. She did let them know that there was going to be somebody else present when they met in person. She scheduled a flight from him from Atlanta to LA on Expedia, and she was reimbursed for everything. From what? Sean, okay? Sean Combs is the one who reimbursed her for everything, okay? Again, Rico, right? Where did the money come from? What did Sean do for a living? We're talking about Combs Enterprises and all of this stuff. That this is the case right here, okay? So so she was reimbursed for everything, and she said that he was very, very nice, very, very considerate, and she, again, like I said, made it clear that her partner would be also present, and he was fine with that. And eventually, they engaged in the usual routine that she and Diddy had for these hotel nights: oil, massage, and of course, Diddy was over in the corner diddling himself as usual. And she said that she saw Cabral several times, and she invited Cabral because he was familiar to her and it felt like a safe option. She did not want to, but she did because she knew that's what Diddy wanted. And at one point, they did go to the Trump Hotel to have a hotel night. And the irony of them going to the Trump hotel, and they're talking about the idea that Trump might actually pardon him. I just thought that was very, very interesting. So how much money did you give to Cabral? So she said anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000, and sometimes it was cash, sometimes it would be through Cash App. The majority of the time, it was cash that came from a drawer that was, Diddy's, in the drawer that he always had cash on hand. But sometimes it was through Cash App, and it was 100%, always reimbursed by Sean. They reached out to another person for a hotel night, and this is the second person, another entertainer, and his name is Anton. And Anton was most likely his stage name. And one night they were watching, Corn, okay? And well, I might as well say porn now because my thing is restricted. There's two restrictions on the video, so I might as well just speak freely now. Shit. So they were watching porn, and they kept repeating a specific movie that Anton was in, like rewinding the movie over and over again. And so I guess they liked him. Pretty sure Anton was packing, okay, because you know that's always a stipulation for Diddy. And she ended up reaching out to him on IG. He was only one city away. What a coincidence. This is when they were in LA, so he was in LA too. And they invited him over, and he was very, very nervous. It was lots of, nervous energy. She herself was high as a kite. And apparently after the first encounter, they didn't give him anything. I don't know why they didn't give him any money after the first encounter. We know that Diddy likes that money shot literally and figuratively. So maybe they didn't give him anything because he didn't do that. But they absolutely did call him back again, and he was compensated for his for his work, okay, his services. So she talked about contacting one of them on FaceTime, and Sean would be watching on another screen, like in another room sometimes, okay? She did not tell them, can you please excuse yourself, okay? You can't be, no, let me see. I don't know what's going on with this, okay? I don't know what's going on with this, but you're going to have to take this inside. Take it inside. I can't be discussing this stuff with you in here. Take it inside. Take it inside. Take it inside. Kai, don't cry, okay? Don't cry. Does this work? This doesn't work? All right, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, okay? I got to fix this for her. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. Go inside. I'm gonna plug this in for you inside, okay? Oh, it works now? No, this is plugged in here. I'm gonna plug it for you inside, okay, Kai? I don't want to. Well, I can't. I don't know how to fix that one, okay? Granny, sorry. I'm gonna plug this for you inside, okay? Kai, stop, stop, stop. I'm so sorry. So sorry about that. So sorry about that. That's my granddaughter, and anyway. Okay. So all right. So uh, he was always watching on another screen, and she didn't tell, like when they did these like FaceTime things together. She didn't tell them that Sean was watching because she didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. But again, he was definitely watching. Did you ever ask for photos? And she said yes. And she said, why would you ask for photos? And she said, because Sean wanted the photos. She never asked for anything, any type of anything from them unless Sean asked. Okay. And did they ever send you photos without you asking? And she said, yes, they did. And she said when they did, she was polite but not really receptive. So she would just be like, oh, thanks. You know what I mean? And she wasn't rude about it or anything like that because she didn't want to get like, make it obvious. But she was not interested in them, you know, unless Sean, had her contact them. So they showed text exchange between Jane and Cabral. And he said, I need you, okay? And, she wasn't really, again, she wasn't really feeling it like that. And she, again, was like polite, but not like, yeah, I need you too, you know what I mean? So she talked about the fact that she booked a flight for Cabral through a travel agent. And Sean had the same travel agent for like a lot of stuff, okay? I don't think that the travel agent really understood what was going on with stuff. I'm not going to say that they did, but I think that, you know, we might hear about the travel agent later on. Cabral sent her an explicit video or an image or something like that, and she said looking good. And she said that because she wanted to be bland, she didn't want to, be extra. And at the time, she was sober, and she really didn't want to see him or anything like that. But she was alone and didn't want to be rude, and she didn't want to like upset him or be rude or anything like that. So eventually, she started coordinating with other entertainers, and they at one point she and Diddy kind of had a break with each other, but before the break they had hotel nights every week or every other week. And they would have these hotel nights in Sean's house in Miami, and also had hotel nights in her residence as well. Okay. Towards the end of the relationships, the hotel nights decreased. Between 2021 and 2024, do you know how many men? And she says no, she don't like to think about that. I would imagine it's a whole lot of people, y'all. And yeah, so they showed a photo of somebody by the name of Paul, and she had a hotel night with him. And eventually I guess he became a regular. He was a personal trainer, and he was ended up being Diddy's personal trainer. Also, he worked at Cowboys for Angels. I don't know if everybody's watching is familiar with Cowboys for Angels, but that's like an escort agency. I think they based out of Miami, if I'm not mistaken. And that same guy from a long time ago, remember the one that shot up the Trump Hotel, Jonathan Odie? He worked at Cowboys for Angels. Okay. Um, what's up, Roz? How you doing? And hi, Alicia. How are you? Okay. All right. So let's fast forward a little bit. So they show somebody by the name of a photo of somebody by the name of Leo, and they met Leo. She met Leo through Sean in 2022 on her birthday. Okay. The last time she saw Leo was in 2023, and she saw him every so often for these hotel nights. And again, they were always initiated by Sean, and sometimes they referred to him by the Italian. All right. They talk about another man who they met in 2021. Now, this part was real disgusting. Okay. So this particular person, um, I don't know why they brought this up. This was so embarrassing. She said that she was repulsed by this guy. Okay. And he was very sweaty, and he smelled. So basically, it's almost like she was like he was just getting people like from off the street to like, or do stuff with her, or just any old body. Like, why would you bring somebody in to do your freak off or your hotel night? Why would he bring somebody who was sweaty and smelled? So apparently this person was very sweaty and smelled. She tried to make it work, tried to seduce him, tried to make some type of attraction happen, but he was very sweaty, and she kept looking at Diddy like, to let him know like, hey, I don't like this, I don't feel comfortable with this. And he asked, you know, if she wanted him to, if she wants to taste it. And it's just like, no, like he's sweaty. So she said that he laid her down and started to have relations with her, and Diddy was telling her to look at his private part, like I guess to try to like get her, you know, excited or something like that. And it just wasn't working. She couldn't do it, and Sean eventually told the guy, you can leave now, and he excused the guy or whatever. Of course, he had somebody else on deck to come through, and they got another guy, and Paul, who she was familiar with, eventually arrived, and she was blindfolded, and eventually, I think that, sorry, I think that what happened with this situation is he was trying to like maybe surprise her or whatever. So he was like, yeah, put a blindfold on, and brought somebody in who she felt comfortable with, And she said that she felt a little bit more comfortable, and at least she knew him. And they took the blindfold off. Oh, it's Paul. Okay, and they went on to have the hotel night. Uh, there was another guy by the name of Michael, and they eventually ended up having relations with each other. And Sean tried to film, and Michael said no. And they proceeded to still have the hotel night. And Michael was one of the three that was at the sobriety party. There was another. There was just so many people. Let me just fast forward, okay? So many men, a million men. They showed her a photo of a man. She doesn't remember what his name is, but she met him at on her birthday in 2023, and they went to Miami to celebrate her birthday. This happened a couple of times where he would tell her that they're going to celebrate her birthday, and there's not going to be any hotel night, no freak off, no nothing, 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 and there would end up being like a hotel night. Okay, so Sean said, hey, we're just gonna have fun, we're just gonna celebrate your birthday, and not gonna be no type of nothing. So they went to Nobu, and he was very loving and very sweet. And then he said, I'm really excited about the entertainment for tonight. And she's thinking to herself, like, what do you mean entertainment? You specifically told me that we're not doing anything. It's my birthday. Like, you specifically told me we're not going to be doing anything. But of course, she went along with it. She said that she was surprised, but she just, accepted it. And they went upstairs. He gave her her birthday gift, which was a necklace. And a man comes in, and she said this became very routine. She was almost robotic about it, but she said she just went through the motions and did whatever she had to do. And she starts crying. She's crying a lot here. So she said she just kind of tuned it out and did what she always did, and knew that's what he wanted, and she didn't want to, ruin her birthday by disappointing him. Okay, insane. All right. So she put her thoughts away and did whatever she had to do, and then that was that. She talked about turning into someone else, somebody who could get with it and just get into it. Of course, she's high as a kite, so it helped her get through these things. So she said she was able to get through it, relatively quickly. And don't forget, these things last for hours and hours. So if she's saying quickly, we're talking about over the span of about maybe 8 hours, okay? Just keep that in mind. So she felt horrible. She didn't want to do this on her birthday. And, this particular person who came for her birthday, she didn't know him. And he felt more like a stranger than anybody else did, okay? So she asked Sean for a condom, and Sean was very, very upset, gave her a dirty look, and he mouthed to her, you better not ask for an effing condom. So she played it off because, you know, the man was about to get started, and she didn't want to sour the mood, and she didn't want Sean to be upset with her. Eventually, he did give the man a condom. Sean was pissed off and seemed very, very disappointed. It made her feel really, really bad. After the relations, they switched rooms and went into a bigger suite. Now, remember, this is on her birthday. When they go to the next suite, it's a bigger room, and it's filled with balloons and cake, beautiful decorations, and he gives her even another necklace on top of the one that he gave her before, okay? And she was so happy. She was just like, oh my God, now we're really going to celebrate my birthday, blah, 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 all of this, okay? And then, after all this celebratory mood and everything like that, and this alone time, don't you know that another guy ended up coming, the guy Cabral ended up coming, and they ended up having a hotel night for hours. Of course, Sean was in the room watching, and they asked her, how long was it? And she said it was so long, and eventually Cabral left, okay? She's like, okay, at least, okay, this is done now. She's finished or whatever. Child, don't you know another person ended up coming? The guy Don came, and she said they eventually had the hotel night again on top of that. So on a night that she wasn't supposed to be having no type of hotel night, no type of freak off, nothing, she ends up with three separate men. Okay, so we break for lunch. Okay, um, in the cafeteria, I did see Mama Combs. She was there wearing like a very bright floral sort of like outfit, kind of like a sporty kind of floral suit. She had on her trademark blonde wig, okay, and she, of course, I like I said before, she's very very friendly, very sweet. People say hello to her, and she says hello back and everything like that. And she was just there getting a little something to eat, and then that was the end of that. So we were back from the break, and they show a photo of a man. She doesn't remember what his name is, but she does remember him, and they met in 2023. And Sean says he has something different for her. So this is this man, and they met once, and they had a hotel night. Okay, um, this particular man, she couldn't get into it. He was very very unattractive, and she was very repulsed by him. And it was similar to what happened with the sweaty guy, where she tried to kind of make it work, and um, she just couldn't go through with it, and the man eventually ended up leaving. And they showed her another photo of another man. She didn't remember his name. This is in 2023, and uh, this is in 2023. They went on a trip to New York. She stated she didn't want to do this hotel night, and he said that they would go to dinner and shopping and spend alone time. Remember, I said in the beginning of the live, he would constantly do this to her, constantly tell her, hey, we're not going to do this. We're going to have alone time, and always end up tricking her into doing this hotel night. Um, so on her way to New York, he sends her a text message. Now, mind you, they're supposed to be going to New York for a long time. He text messages her, you know, asking for entertainment. We know what entertainment is. Once in New York, they went to the Trump Hotel again, and of course there was heels and clothes, and she was happy to see like a pretty outfit for her to wear and stuff like that, right? And eventually the time was passing and passing, and it just got late. And then I guess she realized that they weren't going out to dinner, and he was out there talking to his entourage or whatever, and the night got longer and longer and longer, and now it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they just end up going to some lounge, and they're there in the lounge just talking or whatever, and he hands her a pill, and she takes the pill. And after the lounge, they went back to a hotel for, guess what, another hotel night. Okay. um she tried to go through it with this particular person, but could not get into it. Went into the room with Sean, let him know that she couldn't get into it, and they ended up calling Cabral. This is, you heard his name multiple times now. And they said, why, after saying you didn't want to, and she said, that's a hard question to answer. I basically wanted to make him happy. Was Sean paying your rent at this time? And she said yes. And did you have conversations about Sean not paying your rent? And she said she can't remember clearly. She said she pretty sure that she did have conversations about that, probably through text. And she suggested that they show her the text messages, because the prosecution has all the text messages. Okay. Um, so, all right. This happened multiple times. With this particular person, they gave Cabral $3,000. They left $3,000 at the front desk for Cabral. Um, they asked her, were there any men that she has not seen in any exhibits that she did have relations with? And she said yes. And she said that it was probably about three people. The first one was a black man in LA. That happened twice. The second was a Spanish guy who was buff looking in LA. Happened once, approximately in 2022. And the third guy was a European looking man in LA, and that happened twice. The fact that she could even remember all of these, never mind the name, I wouldn't be able to remember all of these times, especially if I was like zooted out of my mind like that. Child, if I have a few drinks, I don't even be remembering what I ate the night before. So to remember all of this, shout out to her. Okay. Um, so who introduced everyone to you with the exception of Anton and Cabral? She said, Sean. Did you ever want to have relations with any of these people? She said, no. And she said, who was the most frequent? And she said, Paul and Cabral. And they asked her if you ever, offered to do a hotel night as a surprise, and she said twice. She knew that Sean wanted her to do the hotel night, and he basically, kind of intimated, wow, I wonder what you have in store for me. I wonder how you're going to surprise me. So she surprised him with a hotel night a couple of times, all right? And, of course, they asked, why would you do this? She said that she loved him very deeply. And she told him over and over again she did not like to do this, but he still, encouraged her to do it. I'm not going to say made, he encouraged her to do it. Did he ever run out of cash? And she said yes. And did you ever see him make a phone call to any assistant or security for cash? And she said yes, KK or J9. Again, they ask her these questions over and over and over again because this is going towards the charges, okay? And, you might be watching this and say to yourself, well, who told her to do this? And she had a choice, and he's not being charged with he's not being charged with being a trash human. He's not being charged with that. What he's being charged with is, paying for these escorts, these workers to travel to where he's at and paying them oftentimes across state lines. Okay. So they've established this multiple times. Whether you believe her that she felt that she compelled to do this is not really relevant. Like, they've established multiple times that he's done this. So, anyway, it is what it is. Y'all could think that he's not going to get charged, that he's not going to serve time. He's absolutely going to. So that's okay. So, all right. So they talked about, over and over again, who would give the money, blah, blah, blah. All, the same thing over and over and over again. They showed her multiple photos of her and these people during these hotel nights, okay? And she identified herself with Don, Cabral, Paul, another photo with Don, Paul, Cabral, Don, like over and over again. They showed her about 15 different images of her during these hotel nights with various people, and she admitted that she was in every one of these images, okay? She talked about things being very, very methodical, and was Sean always present for all of the hotel nights? And she said yes. It was the same thing that Cassie talked about as far as preparation for the hotel nights, oil and this the stripper heels and blah blah blah. She talked about tripping twice because of the oil. She tripped in the heels twice. Okay. He asked her to get her nipples pierced, and she did, and they ended up taking the nipple piercing out after after about a year because it snagged on the lingerie, and it became infected. And he wanted her to get the nipple piercings back again and would constantly ask for her to get it back again. I don't know if she got the nipple piercings back again, but he did ask her. And they asked her, did you ever experience back pain? And she said yes, during some of the hotel nights. And she said during all of them, because she would be in a particular like sexual position for several hours at a time, because he would want her to be in a particular position literally for hours, and she would just be super super sore. She talked about her constantly having UTIs, and if you get a urinary tract infection, you need to take an antibiotic. What happens when you're taking a lot of antibiotics? You're gonna get a fungal infection. Okay. Rondell said that baby oil is the devil. It is. It absolutely is. That's too much slippery stuff for me, child. I can't. Okay. Like, I use oil like for my skin, like just out the shower and stuff like that. But in sexual situations, absolutely not. Plus, you're not supposed to have baby oil in any of your orifices. Okay. Astroglide lube and things of that nature are safe. You know what I mean? And some people even argue that they don't really like those types of lubricants and stuff like that. But baby oil, you should not be using that for sex. So, but anyway, um, so she either had a UTI or a yeast infection. It was a constant cycle because for obvious reasons. Okay, she said she had UTIs almost every week, and she would sometimes tell Sean, and sometimes she wouldn't. She would tell him like if it was like unbearable, but other times she just kind of kept her mouth shut because she didn't want to upset him. And sometimes he would let her recover for a week, maybe a week and a half. Um, and sometimes he wouldn't. He would still encourage her to do it. Bianca, having sex for hours is wild. Yeah, having sex for hours is wild. Like, you can, I mean, obviously, like, if you're into it, like, it's different. I mean, we've all, probably had, marathon sex with, our partner, and it was nice and stuff, but you wanted to do that. Having marathon sex with somebody who you really are not even into, and you're just high as a kite going through the motions, that's not enjoyable. It's just not, okay? So yeah, sometimes she wouldn't fully recover. And they asked her, well, what other parts of your body were sore, like, in addition to like your back and your lower back and upper back, and and she said her vagina would be sore a lot. And she said that she didn't say anything about her vagina being sore because she didn't want to be negative. She didn't want him to make a fuss about it. And she said she was almost always sore. And I would imagine that she was almost always sore. Okay. Um, hey, Kimmy Treats. Okay. So, they asked her, do you have an estimate, how many times you told Sean that you didn't want to do, hotel nights? And she said she didn't know exactly how many times, but she told him a lot. Okay. And whenever she brought up the fact that she didn't want to, I have this fan because it's a little hot in here, and I'm not putting that AC on because the electric bill is already terrible. So I'm really not trying to deal with that electric bill right now. Probably gonna have no choice but to turn it on, but I'm not turning it on right now. So I got this fan here. So she said that whenever she brought up the fact that she didn't really want to do these hotel nights, he would overpower the conversation or just kind of be, dismissive or, dissuade her from even talking about it. She would talk, like she talked about that she had an iPhone and she would have notes that she would kind of write to herself. A lot of the notes were things that she wanted to say to him, but maybe didn't have the nerve to say to him. Or sometimes she would write in her notes kind of like as a diary. And they brought up a lot of these notes during her testimony. Okay. Now, this is the thing. At this point, she was constantly having these hotel nights, and she wanted alone time with him. He was involved with other women, and one of the women that he was involved with was another person who was a celebrity. Not going to bring her up, but I definitely have an idea as to who this woman was. Okay. Don't bring her up in the chat or anything like that, but this was somebody who Diddy would constantly show on Instagram, or she would show on her Instagram, and she wanted to have this alone time with him and go travel and stuff like that. But this other woman was constantly doing all the things that she wanted to do. Okay? So she said that she felt some type of way seeing him with another woman, and they asked her why was she jealous, and she said that he was doing quality time with her and only hotel nights, with Jane. Okay. And they showed a photo of a text, where she said that she was upset that he was having hotel nights while he's booed up with other women. Um, she told him, I need a breather and a break from you. Hotel nights don't make me feel good at all, and I hope you two have a good Thanksgiving. So I guess he was with her for Thanksgiving and, only doing the freak off with Jane. So they played a voice note of Diddy, okay? They played a voice note of Diddy. Hold on a second. They're making me do this puzzle thing on TikTok. They played a voice note of Diddy leaving her this voice note, okay? In the voice note, he basically tells her, you know, that he was real nasty and stinking the voice. And I'm not even gonna hold you. He was talking to her real crazy, okay? And he basically was like, look, he's referring to the girl who she saw him with on Instagram, okay? And he tells her, look, she wanted to work out with me, and basically I said if she want to work out with me, she could work out to me, and I don't give a I could do what I want, and that's it. Basically, it is what it is. And he was like, even if I did finish effing her, so the fuck what? You know? And he basically cursed her out and called her crazy. Like, okay, and I did that, and so what? Like, and it was just really, really crazy to hear his voice, by the way, okay? It was just weird to hear his voice. And anyway, like I said, he was talking to her real crazy. So she basically texted him back and was like, nobody came to work out. She's been with you for days. And she said, I don't even care. Basically trying to say, I don't care if you're sleeping with other women, because he made it clear that he was with other women. Like, he made it clear from the jump that he was with other women. The problem that she had was the fact that he was doing the stuff that she wanted to do with him, and all he wanted her for was the hotel nights, the freak offs, okay? Um, and you know, you doing all of this quality time with her, and you only want to do hotel shit with me. She starts crying again. This time she's crying a lot, and she basically was like, she was the one who had to take all of this on, meaning she's the one who had to deal with all of the stuff to her body, all of the substances, all of the soreness, all of the infections, all of the back pain, all of the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of doing stuff that she did not want to do. And this person is there posted up lovey-dovey, oh, I love you, and stuff like that. And this is the person who you are bringing in the public and basically, rubbing it in her face. And she said, it's not me you want, it's the hotel nights. And she says, she texts him and she's like, you know what, I'm off this. And he says, okay, have a blessed day. Ciao. So they said, how often would you say that you wouldn't want a hotel night and then end up FaceTiming him? So she said often. So basically what ended up happening is she would go through this a lot, where she would be like, look, I don't want to do these hotel nights. I don't want to talk to you no more. And she would really, I guess, mean it. And she would not communicate with him for a couple of days. And then he would FaceTime her, and he would, end up calming her down, telling her that he loved her, and just basically wearing her down. And the whole cycle would repeat over and over again. I felt like he didn't get time to mold Shorty, because that sounds like his motto, to be freaky and then abuse them after. But this is the thing. I think that he did this with certain people that he knew he could get away with this, okay? Because the celebrity that he was messing with, this girl who I'm sure we kind of know who it is, wasn't giving that she was going to be tolerating this type of mess, okay? The same way he wasn't up until now. I don't know what the testimony we're going to see on Monday, but up until now, he hasn't been physically abusive to Jane. I believe that he, you know how they say monkey know which tree to climb, okay? He knew what to do with who. With Cassie, he used to beat her a lot, because Cassie didn't have really anybody in her corner like that, okay? She really did not, okay? So he knew he could get away with just doing that with her. I believe that he wasn't physically abusive to this girl, Jane, because he knew who her baby father was. And he didn't want that smoke. So he wasn't physically abusive towards her, but he was emotionally abusive towards her. And I'm going to give you a little bit more of what I think, why I think he treated her the way that he treated her. I think a big part of the reason was who her baby father was, and the fact that he had beef with him, right? And it was, you know what? We might have beef with each other, but look how I'm treating your baby mother. I think that subconsciously or even consciously, he treated her like that because of who her baby father was. I don't think that he was going to ever truly have respect for her because of who the baby father was. I think he was doing all this stuff to stick it to him, but to always also, you know, abuse her because of she was, who the baby father was. You know what I mean? He was never going to treat her nicely, ever. Okay? And I think this is another reason why her baby father is the way he is and constantly disses him and makes posts about him and talks smack about him every chance he gets because of this. I think so. I really, really do. This is a L for everyone involved, in my opinion. Okay? Um, Jamel said she wanted to be wifey but was being treated like a super side chick. Yeah, absolutely. And but he was showing the other one golden showers and long nights too. That sound like the beginning of a freak off. It does sound like the beginning of that, but I don't know. I really don't know if she was really going to be going for that. I really, really don't. Just like from what her history was. And remember, she was a good look for him. Remember, at the time, he was trying to become relevant again, right? Nobody wasn't really checking for Diddy till he started dating a certain somebody. The younger generation really wasn't checking for him like that. The older generation, like the people of my age, knew of him, knew who he was. You know, love him or hate him, we knew who he was. But he was constantly trying to stay relevant, and she brought that relevance to him. I don't think he was really trying to mess that up. He would make huge shows of taking her on shopping sprees and stuff like that. And she had her little talk show, and she had stuff. All of that was making him relevant again. You understand what I'm saying? And right, he was having the baby with the Asian girl and all of that stuff like that. Like, so, you know, it was what it was. Okay. So, all right, so let's get back to this. So there's not too much more of this. It's not too much more of this. So he would constantly, again, it was a cycle, you know, he would have the FaceTime with her, she would calm down, and, you know, it was what it was, okay? So now, she's supposed to be meeting for the birthday. Should I wear the red or black dress? And he says, wear a black dress. And they text message each other, are you ready? And she said, yeah, like 15 minutes. So they're preparing to meet for her birthday. And Sean said that they were going to go out to dinner. But of course, they ended up meeting with Leo for a hotel night. So they show a photo of text messaging and between the two of them, and he asked her, why didn't you hit me up? And she said, I hit you on your other phone. And she was okay. So after this situation with the birthday, for the other person's birthday, okay, they ended up going to a private island for a big beautiful birthday celebration for the other woman, okay? They had a private chef, the whole 9 yards, okay? Diddy tells Jane that that woman is only his business partner, okay? And again, I believe that, you know, she was kind of his business partner, because remember what I said, this other woman was absolutely making him relevant again. So I guess technically she was a business partner for him, okay? But I'm pretty sure, like you said, Bianca, you know, the golden showers and stuff like that, he was sleeping with her too. So there's a photo of text messages between the two of them, and she says, I don't want to do another hotel night with you, and I did not want to do that on my birthday. They asked her over the next year, did you continue to do these hotel nights? And she said yes. Sean would always promise trips, alone time, etc. And she hardly had any of that. And this goes back to what he's initially being charged with. Remember, it's fraud, you know, coercion, things of that nature. If you tell me that, if you lie to me and tell me that we're not going to have these hotel nights anymore, okay? Yet you still encourage me to have these hotel nights after you lied to me and said that you were not going to have hotel nights with me. And then you insinuate that you're going to take away the roof over my head. What is that? What is that? Somebody say it in the chat. What is that? They show a photo of her note that she has in her iPhone. So you guys who have iPhones, we have this on Android too, but on iPhone, you can leave notes, right, for yourself. My daughter leaves notes in her iPhone all the time to remind her of certain things. So they got a screen grab of the note from her iPhone, and in the iPhone, she talks about her feelings, that she's just been waiting for him to do all the things that he promised her to do. You always make me feel weird for asking to be treated nicely. I don't want to do substances for days to fulfill your freaky nasty desires. I don't like it. I don't want to do this anymore. This is a note that she's leaving to herself. And again, she used to leave these notes for herself, but kind of be scared to tell him, but it kind of like a diary for her, right? um and he would always promise the date nights and the togetherness and all of that stuff like that, and would always constantly say, look, just one more hotel night. And then it was just a hamster wheel, just a cycle. Okay. She basically said that she's tired of him being romantic with other women and treating them this way, and leaving her to clean up and recover on her own. So another thing is, they would be in her place of residence doing these hotel nights sometimes, and she would be the one who would have to clean up. This is why I said that I feel like he was intentionally being cruel and nasty to her because of who she was and because of who her kid's father was. Why would he make her clean up? He has unlimited resources. Why would he make her clean up all the oil and the menstrual blood and all of this other nasty stuff, and the ejaculation and all this stuff like that? Why would he make her clean all of that up when he could just pay for a cleaning service to come and do that? I think a lot of the stuff that he did to her was absolutely intentional. Absolutely. Like, it's bad enough that you're not giving her the other stuff that she wants. Okay, fine. You just want to have the hotel nights with her. You want to do that with her. The least you could do is get a cleaning service in there to clean up her place. You know what I mean? I think he did a lot of stuff out of sheer spite. Um, she would be left alone. She talked about being left alone, and she would be coming down from this massive high of doing this for like over the course of a few days, and she would be the one cleaning all of this stuff up, and she would just be left alone to be thinking about what she did. And she said it was horrible for her. So now they show photos of Jane and him in Miami, and she said she felt happy in this particular photo. Okay. um so just more of the same. More of the same. He's going out to hang out with women and stuff like that, and treating her like straight garbage. And in this thing, I wrote a little note to myself that I feel that he did that for spite because of who the kid's father was. So oh, okay. So he talks about the fact that he paid for a birthday dinner for her to hang out with her friends. Okay. And this is when she's complaining about how he's treated the other woman nicely or whatever, and he kind of throws in her face, well, you look like you had a good time at your birthday dinner. And he said stay in the light. So when he said to stay in the light, basically trying to say, like, think about the good stuff and don't be thinking about the bad stuff. Okay. But stay in the light, telling somebody after they're expressing their feelings to you, telling somebody to stay in the light is extremely dismissive. It couldn't be me. I'm telling you right now. I don't care. It just couldn't be me. But then again, he wasn't dating women like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that I'm good enough for him like that. Like, I'm that fly like that. I don't mean it like that. What I'm saying is, I mean, I'm not saying I look bad or anything like that either. What I'm trying to say is, okay, he wasn't trying to date like assertive women. Okay. Now, The other woman that we saw him with, I would consider her to be assertive, okay? But the women that he really abused and did extra dirty with the hotel nights and the freak offs and all of the other stuff like that, it was a certain type of woman. Even the women who were in his life that were his assistants and stuff like that, that he allegedly treated very, very poorly, were women who were people pleasers, right? We're talking about the woman who was the assistant, um, that the Mia girl, okay? She was very, very much an empath. You know, she was a people pleaser. She would apologize to him after he allegedly treated her poorly, right? Um, yes.
Look, it's not working. We can help this camping.
Okay, Kai.
This one. We need some help.
Is my, oh, okay, hold on a second.
That's
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So she told him that she wants to get off this hamster wheel. So I noticed at this time he keeps taking his glasses off and putting them back on and stuff like that. I noticed a lot of time during the testimony he would try to appear like he was really bored or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know what the judge, what the jury is thinking. I can only see the jury as they're walking in. I'm in an overflow room, so I only see the jury as they're walking in. I know what they look like. The jury's supposed to be anonymous. I know what they look like. I know the makeup of the jury and stuff like that. I will say that without mentioning the appearance of this particular juror, there is one who, when she was walking past, kind of had like a look on her face like that as she was passing Jane. And I mean, I'm just going to just leave it at that. I don't want to say too much because I'm not trying to get in trouble. But yeah, he keeps taking his glasses off and on, and he's looking at the monitor really closely and just doing a whole bunch of nothing. Anyway, so now he starts to gaslight her, and he says that he's tired of her throwing sex in his face. And she tells him that she wanted to, she wants to go back to, Turks, where she first fell in love with him. Okay. At this point, she's sobbing like uncontrollably. So they're like, hey, do you need a break? And she's like, no. She gets it together. And he tells her he wants to break up with her. And she says that she's done hotel nights sometimes for 30 to 40 hours straight. And you telling me that you want to break up with me. This is more, just intimidation. Not intimidation, but like gaslighting. So he's like, let's just be friends. I'm tired of all these long ass texts telling me what I'm doing wrong. So she's like, okay, fine. So then they didn't speak for a couple of weeks, and eventually he reaches out to her. She doesn't respond to him right away, and he keeps text messaging her, and he's like, I miss you. Let me make it up to you. Okay? So now this is a break now. And she's not in the room. Okay? I think they told her to, leave out or whatever, and they have like a little bit of a break. And the prosecution references social media people and content creators who are purposely mentioning Jane. And the prosecutor wants the court to take action. She specifically told the judge, like, we got to do something about this, okay? And like, they're really not playing. I don't know all the content creators who are doing this, but I know for a fact that DJ Academics is one of the main ones who doxed Mia and was there talking about her very greasy on his live stream. I saw a clip of that. I have heard that he's doxed this particular girl. I have not seen it with my own eyes, but I heard that he has, and I don't doubt it. If anybody knows for sure, in the comments, say, you could let me know if he did dox her. Don't put her name, but let me know if he did. I'm pretty sure he did, because if he doxed Mia, why wouldn't he dox her? He has, several million followers over several platforms. I know he was banned on Twitch. I don't know if the ban is still in effect, but I know he's on Kick, he's on YouTube, he's all over the place. Okay, so but they're cracking down, and the judge asked the prosecutor if she has her phone, and she said yes, I got my phone. He said, do me a favor, send me these videos that you're talking about. So something's going to get done. I'm telling you right now, I saw him with my own eyes say, let me get some of this video evidence. And Kai, where's your other tablet? Why you gotta have this one? And it's Kai, go play with your here, look, here's Peppa Pig.
Peppa Pig. Pig.
So something's gonna be done. Something's gonna be done. They're not playing around. Something's definitely gonna get done. Okay. And I couldn't help but notice during this break, Diddy sitting there, and I couldn't help but think like how the mighty have fallen, right? He's sitting there, he has on this, this sweater. It's giving Cliff Huxtable, literally, child, giving, Cliff Huxtable, with the gray hair, and he's there, and his legs are together, and he looks very, very humble and stuff like that. And this is such a far cry from the jet setting, shit talking nigga who we are accustomed to, right? Like the complete opposite of how we know him. And it's just the craziest thing to see. It's the craziest thing to see. He'll be writing notes and stuff like that, and me and my friend Monique were kind of like making jokes as to what he might be doodling. And I made like a stick figure, and then he said that she said that he was making, that S that we used to do like in junior high school and high school, that S. We said that's probably what he was writing. And then I said he was writing the transparent cube. Like, bro, what are you writing? Okay. But anyway, that was just a funny thing that me and Monique were talking about. So they're back from the break, and they show more screen grabs of her notes that she was, leaving on her phone. And she talks about, she's like, it's okay, you're a liar. I try to be non-judgmental, and I try to make this a non-judgmental space for us, but you're just a liar. And sometimes she would send text messages that she had in her notes, and sometimes she wouldn't. Okay. And again, more of the same complaints, vacations with other women, blah, blah, blah. And she talked about, that she deprived herself of love and deep, meaningful connections, and, everything, and travel, just to waste her time. Now, they did have a break from each other, a 2-week break from each other, and she, didn't speak to him during this time. And during the break, multiple people reached out to her. His assistants, his butler, I don't know what the butler's name is. Brendan, that same dude who was the substance mule, he reached out to her numerous times. And she hadn't been on vacation in 2 years. So she said, you know something, I'm going to go to Paris. I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to go to Paris. And somehow he found out that she was going to Paris and sent multiple texts saying Paris, like Paris, 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 like just kept texting that. And he started to call her, and he called her like 30 times in a row. And then when she got back from Paris, he reached out to her, and they eventually started communicating with each other again. So I guess he's gonna take her to Turks, okay? And he says plan for a night of debauchery, right? And she said that they spoke about her trip to Paris. He was very, very pissed off that she went to Paris, by the way, which was weird because like she didn't travel, like he was going all over the place with everybody. So I don't know why he was so upset, but he was very, very pissed off and kept bringing it up over and over again. So anyway, they show a photo of Jane and Diddy at dinner, and she said that she felt happy in that moment. And he took a pill out and gave it to her. Wait an hour. Yeah. He took a pill and gave it to her, and in the middle of them hanging out, guess what he asks for? A hotel night. The next day, they took a flight to Turks. Okay, so they show a photo of Jane and Diddy in Turks. Now, mind you, remember this was all she wanted. This was all she wanted. She wanted to just go to Turks and have like this nice time and stuff like that. By the second day she was there in Turks,
Grandma, can you do Peppa Pig camping? Not working.
Kai, type in 1972.
Oh, 1972.
Goodbye. So, guess who arrived on the second day that they were in Turks, child? Paul. Okay? So, they did it or whatever, and she said after it was over, she was glad, and they said, well, why was it glad? And she said, well, because it was over. And don't you know, he asks her, do you have any more in you? And then Paul comes over, right? He gives her another bracelet with two hearts. She's happy about it. Paul comes in. She said Paul was very nice, but she was very, very tired. And she said that she remembers it was very painful, and she couldn't do it because she was extremely sore. And I was thinking it's because, remember, they hadn't communicated with each other in about 2 weeks, right? So that means that was a whole 2 weeks of no hotel nights. So she probably was, getting back to normal physically, only to go back in and have this marathon sex again with, this guy. So then he says to her very nasty, oh, you can't take any more dick. So she is just like, what? And she takes the bracelet and she throws it at the wall. And they asked her, did you know that Paul was coming? And she said no. And Diddy asks her, like, are you crazy? Like, he was mad because she told Paul that she couldn't do anything because she was just very tired and sore. And he asked her, are you crazy? And he was basically yelling at her because she made him look stupid in front of Paul because she was tired. This is insanity. She said he was very disappointed and told her that she owes Paul an apology. She gotta apologize to Paul. You know what she did? She messaged Paul and apologized for. Yes, you can have some. You can have that. Yes. She apologized to Paul for making a scene. She apologized to Paul for making a scene. Like I told you, he knows who to do this to. He knows exactly who to do this to. Okay. So Paul, Jane text messages Paul, and I'm sorry about this blah blah blah. Okay. So Paul lets her know that he's on his way to the airport. She asks Paul if he let Sean know that he was on his way to the airport, and she says that that Paul text messaged Sean but hadn't heard back. And they talked about her not wanting to do the hotel night, and she did let Paul know, I'm really, really sorry about my behavior, but I really just thought that it was just going to be me and Sean, and we were just going to reconnect with each other because we hadn't seen each other in a couple of weeks and stuff like that. After Turks, they went to Miami, and in Miami, they rested for a couple of days. Then Cabral comes to join them, and she wanted to make it up to Sean for her behavior in Turks. So she invited Cabral, and I put WTF. She arranged for Cabral to travel from Atlantic to Miami for a hotel night, y'all. So now they come up with, let me see. Jamel said, purposely putting her in multiple degrading situations because of who her child's father is. That was the only way he could get back at him. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what he wanted. Okay. Oh, what's up, Monique? What's up, Monique? She's over here on TikTok. Okay.
Hi, Titi Monique.
Oh, Kiana said hi, TT Monique, but she's not on camera. She's not on camera, so go back over there. Okay. So she's not on camera. You can. I'll let you FaceTime her in a few minutes when I'm done. Um. So they come up with a love agreement. Okay. And he basically says that he's going to give her an allowance. So she says she wants 15K per month, and he says he'll give her 10K. And she basically said that she wants this because she wants to move into a nice large space. Maybe she has a kid or whatever, so she wants to live in a nice house or whatever. And Sean didn't like the way her teeth looked, so he encouraged her to get veneers, and she did, of course. He gave her 15K for furniture, and she asked for more, but he wouldn't give it to her, and she ended up opening 3 credit cards to furnish her home, and she went into debt because of that. Now, again, he has the resources. Like, why give her the money for the big nice home that she was living in and not give her enough? 15K is not enough to furnish no big ass house. You know what I'm saying? Like a bed is like a couple of $1,000 or more between the mattress and the actual bed itself. Maybe 4,000 for a really really nice setup. That's just the bed in a regular house or regular apartment. So how are you giving her 15K to furnish a whole big apartment or house? He did that on purpose. You know what I'm saying? He did it on purpose. He could have just furnished her whole joint in one fell swoop. Boom, here's all everything. He did that on purpose, and he held that stuff over her head. Sean asks for hotel nights through a series of texts. And okay, so let me tell you what she suggested. She said that to make him happy, she would do an all-star night. An all-star night was basically like the top people who they really enjoyed being with. She would be with them for a night, and this was supposed to be on the 18th of whatever month. And he was very very excited about this, needless to say. Okay, Sean was very very excited about this, and I'm pretty sure she suggested this because again, she wants to make him happy and stuff. And I'm sure she was probably high as a kite, and it probably seemed like a good idea at the time until it comes down to the time that she really got to get the job done. Okay, so he said, you've been hyping me up for the 18th, and they go back and forth, and he doesn't think that she really wants to do it. And she doesn't really want to do it, but that's not the reason why they don't do it. So Jane is really pretty sure, by the way, that Sean wants to do hotel nights in the new house, like on a regular basis too, by the way. Okay. So they go back and forth about the all-stars. Oh, part of my ignorance was she not getting money from her child's father. I'm sure she probably was. I'm sure she probably was. Yeah, I'm sure she probably was. Okay, so she's apprehensive about doing this all-star situation because all the men who are supposed to be showing up for this all-star event are all very large. And she said that she felt like she needed her body to take a break from the substances and all of that stuff. Okay, so he says, well, you know something, why don't you just do one? You could just do one, you don't have to do all of them. And she's basically letting them know, look, I am really really, like, my body is shutting down, I'm very very tired. Oh, Bianca said her baby father was giving her sugar honey iced tea. She said I can see him saying that. I absolutely can. So, but she basically, like I said, I don't think she wanted to do this. I definitely don't think she wanted to do this all-star situation at all. I think she was just like talking smack. But anyway, he said, oh, you could just do one. So she said, look, I'm very tired. My body's shutting down. I'm exhausted. I do need to rest. I've been doing, too many substances. And on top of that, my period is coming. And, if you're a woman, you understand that when your period is coming, that to me, that's always the time that you're most susceptible to being drained, getting sick, and stuff like that is when your period is about to come. Okay? So she was completely drained. She sent him a photo of when she wiped herself, and the toilet paper was like a pink color. And when you get ready to have your period, and that first set of like fluids that you dispel are like on the pink side, right? But the red is coming. It's coming later on that day or tomorrow, okay? But that's just like that's the pre-period, okay? So he don't care about that. She says, look, I think that we should postpone. He thinks that she's not being truthful. He said that, oh, you out here getting your hair done and working out. How are you tired? Okay, she's out here getting her hair done and working out because that you want her to look a certain type of way. One of the things that Cassie said that she constantly had to work out all the time and keep herself together because she always had to be ready for the freak offs, right? So of course she's going to the gym, okay? He said that she's had her period before and he offered her a solution. So the solution was not to do hard substances but to drink champagne instead. So they go back and forth, for a while about this, and eventually she sends him a photo. I guess this is however many hours later. She sends him a photo of a bloody tampon, and he also gets mad that she doesn't suggest a movie night. So it's like, so let me tell you what a movie night was for them. A movie night was, can you go inside? Because I don't feel comfortable discussing this with you, even though you don't know what we're talking about, but still. I don't want you to have no, like, I don't know, memory when you're later on in life or something like this. So, movie night is where she would link up with him. They would go hang out with each other, and then they would watch, like, porn. That's a movie night. And at first, when I heard movie night, I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet," because I know he has a movie theater in like one of his homes. He has like a big giant movie theater. No, honey, it's not. They're not gonna go watch, the Last Dragon or whatever. You know what I mean? They no, movie night is them watching porn and basically having sex. That's movie night. Um, and she tells him that she's hit a wall, and she's completely drained. Like she's hit a wall. You know what I mean? Like she can't do nothing. She's exhausted, and she doesn't deserve, him treating her poorly. She's not lying, and she just needs a break. She's done hotel nights literally for 2 years, and she needed a freaking break. So they don't speak for a few days. Sean sends her back a text message a few days later and says, "Good morning. I've released my album today." So we get a voice note from Sean. Please excuse yourself. We get a voice note from Sean. He leaves her a message. These voice notes are something else, honey. So in the voice note, he's very stink and nasty as per usual. He's like, "Look, he's been on his job. You better get on your job, and I could disappear, and you have a rude awakening." Okay, and basically they asked, "Well, what did you expect that to mean?" And she basically said that I need to get on my job, like I need to be doing these hotel nights, or he'll disappear, meaning he's not paying my rent no more, and she's gonna have a rude awakening. What are we talking about here with this case? What is he being charged with? If you tell somebody, "Do not work, I'm going to take care of you," and then you take care of them, but then tell them that you have to do something that you don't want to do, otherwise I'm going to take away your home, I'm going to take these things from you. What is that? What is that? Then he text messages her and says, "Oh yeah, happy Sunday." This nigga's the devil. So she said, "You make everything seem so transactional," and she talked about the fact that she always felt like he was holding her home, like the place where she has to live. She always felt like he was holding it over her head. So there's another voice note from Sean, and he basically says, "Look, let's move on from this. Like, let's just move on." And she says, "How could I move on when you called me a bitch when I was sick?" Like, anyway, they eventually end up reconnecting, and the prosecutor says, "Does he continue to hold the rent over her head?" And she says, "Yes, more than once." So this is when they broke for the day. Okay. And oh my god, I was just like, thank goodness, please, like, this is enough. Like, hearing all of this, it's just real heavy to hear this type of thing. Okay, you can have whatever opinion you have of her. She could have left, this, that, and the third. Either way, it's extremely heavy and very draining to take this sort of thing in. um and anyway, child. So now, um the judge is like, okay, so he gave the jury the same admonition he always does: don't talk about the case with anybody, have a great weekend, this, that, and the third. Okay. And the judge asks, after everybody leaves, the judge asks the prosecutor, prosecuting team, "Do you have anything to talk about, any concerns?" And they say no. So I'm thinking, like, okay, we're really about to leave, and then he asked the defense, "Do you have anything to say?" And then Mark Agnifilio stands his big goofy ass up. "Yes, I do." And I'm thinking, like, this motherfucker, like, this is like when you're in a meeting at work and the boss says, "Okay, does anybody have any questions?" And there's always one motherfucker who's like, "Yes, I do." And everybody's like, "Oh God, what?" Like, because I don't want to leave, because I want the tea. I want to, you know what I'm saying? I want to find out what's going on. So he takes issues with Jane's notes that she's leaving in her, that she has on her iPad, and he doesn't like the fact that Jamie is referring to Sean as a liar in her notes. Okay, and she feels that, you know, uh, basically, what the prosecution is arguing is that she feels as though the fact that she feels that she was lied to goes directly to him, as far as sex trafficking by fraud. Okay, because remember, he's stringing her along under the guise that they are in a relationship with each other. Not that he's lying about having other women on the side. He was always truthful about that, and she even said she don't care about that. It's the fact that he's lying about actually wanting to spend time with her. Okay, but he does not want to spend time with her in a romantic way. He wants to spend time with her in a sexual way with these escorts. So he's lying to her about that and holding the fact that he's paying for her rent over her head. And what rent is the rent that he's paying, that he's holding this over her head, where does he get this money from? Okay, these are the charges. These are the charges. Whether you like it or not. Monique brought up the point. It's trumped up charges. That's a great argument to make. But at the end of the day, those are the charges. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it is what it is. Now look, as far as the thing on CNN, the beat down and stuff like that, to me, he's gonna be found guilty. I don't know if he's gonna be found guilty on everything, but he's definitely gonna be found guilty on. And again, there's certain things that you just can't escape. When she is there trying to leave and he is physically bringing her back to the hotel room to engage in, this is Cassie now, to engage in sexual activity that is being paid for. What is that? Transporting substances across state lines. What is that? Paying for escorts that you've paid to travel across not only state lines, but internationally. What is that? Okay. Again, it might get a little blurry as far as the coercion and stuff like that, and the fraud, as far as the coercion is concerned, because the defense is going to have this girl on the stand. They're going to bring her up there the same way they roasted Mia and everybody else, and basically, you wanted it, you wanted it, you wanted it. Maybe they could get away with something with that, But the other stuff, you you can't. Like he's that's it. He's guilty of that. So he's gonna have charges. I'm not even bringing up the gun charges. You understand what I'm saying? All of this is in the indictment. This is all stuff that he's being charged with. You understand what I'm saying? The judge asks Agnifilio to put his objection in a letter. And again, the prosecution brings up the fact that this was her frame of mind at the time, that she felt as though he was lying to her. And the notes prove that this was her frame of mind at the time, that he was lying to her, pretending that this is not what he wanted from her. And coercing her to do things that she clearly stated multiple times she does not want to do, and threatening with taking her home away at the same time. Jane, they said, okay, so what does your witness list look like for next week? And she said that the prosecutor said Jane will most likely be on the stand most, if not all, of Monday. Okay, and Xavier, that's the black guy who's one of the the jury on Diddy's defense team, and he said, well, what about the witness list? And she said, well, it's due on Sunday, and she said most likely it's going to be Jane anyway. Like, what you need a witness list? Like, we know that she's going to be on the stand, and the defense is going to have her on the stand forever and ever. She has to leave by Thursday. She has an international flight that she has to be on no later than Thursday evening. So we know for a fact 100% she's going to end on Thursday. Okay? I'm going to try my best to be there. I'm going to definitely be there 100% on Monday, for sure, for sure. I'm going to try my best to be there on Thursday, but I'm 100% going to be there on Friday. I'm not as excited about the cross of Jane, because I know what it's going to entail. More of the same, right? Not like I don't mind seeing her get cross-examined, obviously. Like, I want to see it all. But if I have to choose, I'd rather go on a day where I know for a fact it's going to be somebody new with more new tea, and not the same stuff that we already heard about in her direct. Because they're going to do the same thing they did with everybody else. They're going to go through her entire testimony and pick apart everything and try to catch her out there in a lie. And it's going to literally be us watching the testimony all over again with them picking everything apart. So that's that. But anyway, my phone battery is dying, so I'm going to have to let you guys go on TikTok. If you're not following me, please follow me here on TikTok. I definitely will be going live about this. Even if I don't go to the trial, I definitely will be, going live and giving my commentary and my thoughts and stuff like that. Not only about this, but about other stuff too. So please give me a follow if you're watching on TikTok. Thank you so much for everybody who, gifted badges and all of that stuff over here. I really, really appreciate everything, and I will see you next time on TikTok. Okay. On Facebook, I'm gonna get ready to go now. If there's any more questions you have for me, please let me know right now. I can talk for a few more minutes before I go in here with Kai. Jamel said it wasn't a relationship, it was indentured servitude. Listen, what a great way to describe what their interaction was, or whatever you want to call it. Like, yes, that was absolutely indentured servitude, slavery. Okay, I'll provide you the basics: food, clothing, and shelter, and you will do what I want and need whenever I want. And here's the thing, again, you're saying in one breath that I want more from you when you know you don't. And you're constantly leading her along under the guise of wanting a relationship with her and wanting all these things, and you still somehow trick her into doing all these things, all this nasty stuff. You know what I mean? I just don't understand. I really, really don't understand how like that level of depravity. You know, Monique was saying that there's really something wrong with him, and we were kind of laughing because it's like the way she was saying it was really making me laugh. But there really is something wrong with him. There is something deeply wrong with him. Like, we understand that he's a substance addict. He's a substance abuse addict. You understand what I'm saying? And it's funny because he wasn't always like that. There was a time that he would have a couple of little drinks here and there back like in the 90s and stuff like that. He wasn't really on it like that. And it wasn't until later on that he really started to become addicted to all these substances and stuff like that. That in itself is kind of sad, but you know, but something happened to him. You know what I mean? Something definitely happened to him. I feel like he definitely went through some level of severe trauma as a child, or something happened to him. And, you know, Monique was saying that, you know, there's things that happen to a lot of people and they don't turn out like that. They don't end up like that. But God damn it, something happened to him. Something happened. Okay? Um, it's just not normal. It's just really, really not normal. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I don't. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I definitely think that he's going to be found guilty. As far as him being pardoned by Donald Trump or whatever, I don't know if that's going to happen. I know 50 Cent was very, very petty and made a post the other day basically showing when Diddy said something to the effect of, oh, if Donald Trump is elected, it's going to be a race war. Yo, he is so petty for that. He is so petty for that. Like, he is so petty for that. And he said he's going to speak to Donald Trump because, you know, he and Donald Trump have like this rapport with one another, honey. He said he's going to speak to Donald Trump and let him know that he doesn't have any business pardoning Diddy. I think that if he is somehow pardoned, or if they even think about something like that, I think state charges are coming right behind it. Okay. I know that one of his properties was raided recently, a week or two ago. I don't know, nobody's talking about that, but it was. Okay, another property was raided. And I believe that they're not spending millions and millions of dollars on him just for him to get pardoned. Like, that's not. They want him to serve some time in jail. And even people who Donald Trump has pardoned, the Chrisleys, you know, these other people. I know he pardoned this drug dealer. I forgot what his name is, but he had like 200 years in state charges, so he's not going anywhere. But these other people who Donald Trump has pardoned, they have all served some type of time behind bars. Okay, so it's like they want to see him behind bars. They really, really do, and they're not doing all of this for nothing. Jamel said he's a true sexual deviant. Absolutely. He said he's a psychopath through and through. It's ingrained in him. Some people were born like that without any influence from their environments. Yeah, that is true, though. There are some people that grow up in really, really, you know, decent, loving homes, you know, two-parent household and stuff like that, and you just have a bad seed sometimes. So that could be it, too. You just never know. But I'm going to say this thing, and then I'm going to end it. He should have been nipped in the bud years ago. You know what I mean? You know, he should have been nipped in the bud when he was in high school with this horrific temper that people say he had. And they called him Puff because he used to huff and puff because he was so angry. Like, you know, something should have happened then. You know what I mean? When he was at Howard, allegedly physically abusing his, you know, girlfriend in front of everybody, and people were frightened to death of him, that something should have been done then. When he literally, according to that woman at the thing, remember when Shine took the rap for him, something should have been done then. He should have served time and paid for his crime then. That should have happened then. You know what I mean? Now look at, we're here, you know, 40 years later, 30 years later, and he's in the situation that he's in now. Even when they caught him on tape abusing Cassie on CNN, the thing that was released to CNN, right? Something should have been done then. The security guard should have notified law enforcement. They should have done something. And ironically, he paid all that money. He paid $100,000 in total for that video to not see the light of day, when he would have been better off just facing the music. Okay? yes, his career would have taken a massive hit and stuff like that. But I mean, he would have been better off trying to rehabilitate himself from that as opposed to everything else we know about him right now. You know what I mean? Something should have been done so many different times, and it wasn't. And it's to his detriment now because look where he's at. I'm gonna read this last one here. Look at his professional lineage. Clive Davis is a known male sexual offender who groomed Andre Harrell, who was Diddy's mentor, so some kind of sexual abuse assault is likely. Hey, look, this is a running narrative that we've seen and heard throughout the years, and I don't doubt that. Could be true. Could absolutely be true. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Thank you so much, everybody. Please follow me on YouTube. I haven't really promoted YouTube the way I should. I changed the name of my YouTube to Shanoa Can Talk. Okay, because if you guys know me, you already know why I changed it to that. Because I have other Shanoa Cans. So I felt like that was like an appropriate name to change it to. So please follow me there. I need 50 followers on YouTube to go live. I think I have like 30 or 30 something, so I need at least 50 to at least go live there. I can't even go live on YouTube. That is so pathetic. That is so terrible. So please follow me over there because I ain't too proud to beg. Please follow me over there. Those abused usually become abusers. Yeah, absolutely. That does happen relatively, it happens frequently. I just think that, I know you're not making excuses for them, but, being abused doesn't give you the right or an excuse to be an abuser. Like, you should know how horrible it made you feel, so you shouldn't be out here trying to abuse nobody. You know what I mean? But I know that's not what you mean. But, yeah, oftentimes, hurt people do hurt people, So, but I'm going to go and go hang out with Kai for a little bit. It's getting late now, all right? I will definitely see you guys here again soon, and thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who gave stars and who's shared the video. Please share. Thank you so much, everybody, and I'll see you guys soon. Talk to you later.